Good evening, everybody. Um, I'm a little bit new at the Facebook Live thing, so comment for me and make sure that you can hear me and we're all good. Um, I have a few people who are trying to help me behind the scenes. So, a part of this is to uncover some of the technicalities for Facebook, and I acknowledge that not everybody in the community is on Facebook. But what we are going to do is post this afterwards on YouTube. So please do me a favor if you've been able to join and acknowledge that you are joining. Comment, blow up this chat so that I know you're here, so that we can answer some of the pressing questions that I know have come across the bandwidth over the last couple of weeks. I'm going to chill here for probably a minute, 90 seconds, just to make sense of if everyone's joining. So bear with me. I don't do this very often, but I feel like this will be helpful for everybody. So just, I'm going to put maybe like a 30 to 60 second pause on this live so that I can check my phone and see if everybody is able to join as they should have. Sounds like we have a few people here that have acknowledged that they can hear and they can join. Becca, Leslie, and Sarah, will you do me a favor and just comment in the chat? I know you already said you're here, but like just put another chat so that I can see this in real time as we talk. Maybe put like a question that you have based on why you joined today, so that I can see that in real time, if you wouldn't mind doing that for me. Emily, I see that you're here a minute ago. Can you just post a question that you have, why you joined the chat? Sarah, I've got your question. David, I've got your question as well. So I feel like we are good on some of the initial questions as we roll in real time. The main thing I want to address is the late fees and the collection letter fees that everybody has been expressing through various channels. That's the main purpose that I wanted to come on here this evening. And so bear with me as I allow these comments to come through. Gil and I talked earlier today, about an hour ago, and we brainstormed on maybe the best way to communicate this, and it was heavy on my heart to just kind of roll into this evening. My older kids are at Parents Night Out until like 9 o'clock, so I have some time to address it. I think it's important that we do that because I think there's a lot of misalignment with where we're at on where things lie with Homeside and the assessment fees and the late fees and the collection fees and everything that you are getting from that regard. And so I acknowledge that, and hopefully this evening we can provide some clarity to that moving forward. So I'm going to read some of these comments and then I'll respond to them. So just bear with me a couple of seconds as I review them as they're coming through, and we will move right along in the Facebook Live. So the main comment that I'm getting is about the $55 collection letter and whether or not we're going to waive those fees, and some frustrations that are coming from that, from the standpoint of it being excessive. So let me just back up to the assessment fee roadmap and the way that it is set up currently. So you had assessments that went out. There was a 10-day grace period. The reason there was a 10-day grace period is because the previous year we had provided 30, 45, 60-day grace periods in previous years. I acknowledge that Homeside didn't allow us as a board to formally sign off on the grace period roadmap this year. And as a result of that, there was some things that went out to you all, i.e. the $55 first level letter, that frankly weren't approved by the board of director level. And so myself and Gil, we're in a rock and a hard place as a result of that, because there was all of these late fees that went out that were not approved by us. And so we are wrestling with that aspect of it. So hopefully you all can give us some grace, first and foremost, that we weren't willy-nilly like, hey, let's late fee our neighborhood to the absolute most. Like, let's just throw all the fees at them that we can possibly throw at them. That's not what the reality is. The reality of the situation is the assessments went out. There was a 10-day grace period. They assessed a 10% late fee, which was $80. If you didn't pay the fee within that period of time, on February 17th, I believe, they sent out a $55 first level collection notice of $55. That's why you're all getting the $55 fee. And we are moving away from Homeside. We fired them, and we're going to move to a new company. Gil and I had a call. How do we wrestle with notifying the community of that in a timely manner? We're moving to another company. The environment that you're going to experience with property management, the tennis courts, the playground, the pool, the tennis court screens that look terrible right now, I acknowledge all of that. I acknowledge it all. But there's not a ton that I'm going to be able to do from a management standpoint over the next 30 days other than engage our new company and make sure that they can be attuned to those certain things that are happening in the neighborhood and take care of them. The tennis courts need to be resurfaced. We need to make a decision on whether or not it's going to be 2 tennis courts or 1 tennis court, or 1 tennis court and 1 pickleball court, or 2 tennis courts with a removable pickleball net and pickleball lines. All of that is in process. The missing component really is a management company that will deliver. And so we have engaged in a management company that we feel very strongly about. We're going to pay them very handsomely to make sure that they do that. But in the meantime, especially the next 30 days, myself and Gil, we're asking for your grace from the community. There's things that need to be done, and we acknowledge that wholeheartedly. We're just in a position where we're between a rock and a hard place in being able to get those action items delivered in the amount of time that some of the folks in the neighborhood want them to be delivered in, and we acknowledge that. But the first thing that we want to address is the late fees and the $55 fee as it relates to the first level of collections. If it's on your account for the next 60 days, it's probably going to be there. So we're gonna look at it. If you feel like you've paid your assessment inside of the period of time that it should have been paid, we ask you to send that information to us and we will evaluate it. But if you have a $55 fee on your account right now and you have it through April 1 or May 1, we're asking for your grace, because it's going to be there as we transition from Homeside to the new company. And the intent of those fees is not to just charge you fees because we want to put money in the pocket of the association. It is to enforce really the primary focus of a board of directors. And the primary focus of any board of directors in a homeowners association, first and foremost, is to collect assessments. That's what we're supposed to do. Nothing else, nothing more, if you were to break it down simply, is to collect the assessments. And so as a part of that, we have to have a collection policy that we put in force for the neighborhood. And I acknowledge as the president of the board that that wasn't communicated to the level that it should have been communicated to the residents. And we will make sure that we make it right with you. But I want you to understand that we are transitioning to another management company, and it was not expected for us to do this in 2025. We made that decision within a couple of days of the notice clause to terminate. And so because of that, things have sort of been delayed a little bit. And so I'm asking for your grace. Gil's asking for your grace. You're upset. I get it. You're frustrated. You don't want to pay $55. You don't want to pay $80 when you didn't get a notice. We understand that. And I'm not trying to be a politician. I'm not. So for those of you who are suggesting that I'm trying to be a politician, look, it's a volunteer role. If you guys want to overturn me or you want to overturn Gil, put in the proxies and you take over the board of directors. To be completely transparent and frank, I've been doing this since 2021. I've been trying to do everything in the best interest of the neighborhood. There isn't politics involved with it at all. Homeside botched the HOA meeting notices. That was the last straw. We said, you know what, we need to move on. We need to move on because if you can't even get the notice period for the annual meeting, then you're probably not the best company for us. And if there's folks on here that think that I'm beating around the bush, then what do you want us to address? I'm all ears until like 8:45, and then we're gonna put on some more messaging on YouTube as we transition over into the new company. But the new management company, just so that you all know, is the same management company that's at Laurel Manor. They're a very capable management company. They're going to be very proactive as it relates to amenities, repairs that we need to make, that need to be done, and they're going to support the board in getting those bids so that they can be done in a prudent manner. So, Sarah, what is it that you want me to directly answer you? Becca, you want me to waive the fees. What fees directly is it that you want to waive? So I'm looking at Sarah's comment a minute ago because I was looking at my camera as I was talking, and Becca. Todd, who decides on the late fees? Ultimately, the board decides on the late fees. So late fees, let me talk about those really briefly. The $80 fees is the first level of fees that were assessed. So if you paid after 10 days, you were assessed an $80 fee, which was 10% of the annual assessment. If you did not pay that, on February 17th, I believe, you were assessed a $55 additional fee, which was a first level collection effort in collecting the fee. So, to illustrate that for everybody's benefit, if we are to blanket waive that first level $55 fee, that's a direct expense that the board and the association will essentially take as a deficit. So if we have 10 homeowners, just for sake of numbers, if we have 10 homeowners that were assessed that $55 letter, and we waive all 10 of those, it's $550. The association budget will eat that $550 off the top end. The way that that is billed is what's called the hard cost to the association. So however many of those are billed, the association will only recoup that cost when they're paid. It's something that I'm going to negotiate with Homeside through the transition, and I'm going to be very honest and open with you. There's a transition fee of like $750 that I've already negotiated on our behalf that we will not incur. But the difficulty that the board is having with this transition is, how do we be fair? At the same time, how do we be reasonable? So if you guys didn't receive the letter, either digital or in mail, I need you guys to show me that proof, so that I can go back to Homeside and say, we're billing these residents at $55 for this first level collection effort, and they didn't actually receive it. And if that's the case, then I'm going to advocate on behalf of every single one of you and make it right. But at the same time, if you actually did receive that letter, is it really prudent from the board of directors standpoint to waive that $55 fee and pass it through the rest of the members of the association because you didn't make the payment? That's what the board of directors is really wrestling with right now as we transition through the transition to Homeside. And so let me just review the comments, because I'm trying to talk to all of you in the camera and not the comments as I sort of go through and answer some of these. And what I'm seeing from some of the messages is that you didn't receive proof of it. So that's okay. Just send that in a message to an email that we're going to drop in the comments at the end of this live, because we created a completely separate email that we should have done like 4 years ago, just specifically for the reserve email, and we'll handle all of those things through that correspondence. Jonathan James, I don't know anything about the invisible hand. If you want to create more context around that, that would be fantastic. Another person is mentioning that they never received the $55 collection letter. Just send that to us in that context, and we're going to resolve those situations on a case-by-case basis. But the reason why I wanted to come on here this evening is to try to formulate some context to what we're actually dealing with in reality. And it isn't to nickel and dime our residents and charge them fees. The reality of the situation is the collection policy was never actually acknowledged and signed off on by the board of directors, i.e. myself and Gil from Homeside. Okay? But we still have to deal with that because there have been certain dominoes placed in place, and you guys have been charged fees, and we have to handle that. And we have to handle it in a way that is prudent, and we have to handle it in a way that is fair. And to just blanket waive every single fee isn't necessarily the knee-jerk reaction that the board of directors wants to go down. So what we're asking for this evening is a little bit of grace and some time. And if you see certain fees on your account that you disagree with, we would appreciate it if you handled those on a individual basis and sent them to us so that we can handle them, especially when we transition into the new management company. And it's impossible for me to look at these comments as I talk, so those who are able to do it in a professional basis is impressive. But I'm going to scroll up to try to look at these as we talk here. Everybody that's on the call, which is I don't know how many people, but the comments that I see, so are all of you suggesting that you did not receive any notice for the first level of collection notice, which was the $55 fee? All 17 of you that are on the call, any of you that were assessed that fee, are you saying that you didn't receive any correspondence to that fee? So the overwhelming comments that are coming in is that you did not. And if that is the case, then again, we'll be an advocate on your behalf and make it right. I'm not suggesting that that fee is going to ultimately stand. What I'm trying to do here this evening is be transparent in the way that fee is actually being assessed as it stands right now, and to help everyone understand, if they don't already understand, the way that particular fee is being assessed is what's called a hard cost to the association. So what that means is every single one of you that were assessed that $55 fee, the association budget was simultaneously assessed that same $55 fee to the association's overall budget. And once the individual homeowner pays that fee, then it comes back to make the association whole in that regard. And so that's why we've been a little bit hesitant to provide any sort of blanket fee waivers, because we have to unpack it. We have to be fair. We have to approach it in a prudent manner. But if it is really the case in which Homeside didn't provide the correspondence, and you are unable to provide proof of that, then again, we're going to approach Homeside in a manner in which we will negotiate that, just like we negotiated the transfer out fee based on a number of other items that weren't being done in a prudent manner. And so I know that doesn't answer everybody's question or maybe give everybody peace of mind that we're going to waive the fee just on a blanket basis, but hopefully that gives you a little bit more context on what the financial implications actually are from the standpoint of that fee. And to everyone's point, the board of directors did not sign off on a collection policy that is in relation to what is actually being enforced. And my hands are completely tied, and I'm in between a rock and a hard place, because I can make phone calls, I can send emails, but I can't ultimately censor what is being done or not done as it relates to fees to the members of the association. So again, I'm going to go back to the original message of this sort of impromptu Facebook Live, which is I'm asking for some grace. And Gil and I, we're really asking for some folks in here to step up and volunteer. Because we're 4 or 5 years into this. We have 2 board members, 1 or 2 people on committees, and we've asked for participation, and what we have gotten is lukewarm. We don't really get a whole bunch of people busting at the seams to volunteer, but we have a whole lot of folks who are coming on here a little bit upset. And so as a result of that, we're trying to formulate plans to move forward in a way where we have a management company that has our back, but at the same time we have more than 2 people to manage 190 homes on a volunteer basis, to make sure that everybody feels comfortable about the community that they live in. So I'll get off my soapbox again. I'll go back here and read the comments as we move through this call. So bear with me, because I don't have the capability of reading the comments as I talk into the camera. Overwhelming comments are that nobody received the $55 notice. So we'll immediately address that. Again, I want to reiterate that it may be there. We're transitioning to a new company. You're going to probably not receive any sort of legal notice to that until April 1st. But Homeside is effectively not a property management company of our community. We have engaged another company. They're the same company that is the property management company across the street at Laurel Manor. Our landscaping company that we have engaged last year is the same landscaping company that services the neighborhood across the street. They were actually the ones that recommended Shaban and Associates to us. We evaluated them, but because of cost, we didn't make that move. But guess what? You all have sort of made your voices heard, and so we're going to pay significantly more for our management company to get what you pay for. So Shaban and Associates is going to be the new property management company. They're going to be significantly more expensive than what Homeside was. and they're going to help us move forward towards the goals that we want to accomplish in the community as a whole. And what we're going to do in the month of March is hopefully sort of backdoor negotiate with them to make sure that March is not just a dead month, because we're moving into spring season and the weather is turning, and we have to do something with the tennis court, and we have to do something with the playground, and we have to do something with the pool area, and the board acknowledges that. We just haven't been in a position where we're confident and that we trusted our company to deliver those things. So rest assured, in the next coming days, we're going to have calls with Shaban and Associates to try to have some backdoor things done in the period of March. But at the very least, April 1st, we will be running through all of those things, and the expectation is that they will execute them at a very high level. What about the pool parking lot? I'm not sure what you mean about the pool parking lot. If you mean that it needs to be pressure washed or that we need to make it more aesthetically pleasing, that's also something that's on our roadmap. Just reading through the comments. In-person meeting versus virtual. So let me talk about that for a minute, because I think it's really important that everybody understand the parameters and the consequences with the board meetings. So there's like 21 people on here. The biggest challenge in this neighborhood for me has been able to actually implement change. And implement change in a way that is legally possible. So there's covenants, there's rules and regulations, and there is certain parameters legally that are required for us to even modify those. One of those would be basketball goals. So recently there's been a lot of dialogue around basketball goals, and I would love to unilaterally change the covenants of the community or the rules and regulations of the community as a board president, but they just don't allow me to do that for a reason. And what needs to happen for us to be able to modify anything, whether it is basketball goals, whether it is parking, whether it is how we enforce anything, we have to have a certain level of collaboration with the neighborhood. And legally and technically, that is defined as a quorum. And so we can't change anything, whether it's virtual or whether it's in person, unless we have a quorum. And one of the tools that we'll try to use to try to get quorum is what's called a proxy that will go out in the mail. But essentially, we can't change anything as a board of directors. If you go back and you look at Facebook posts of all of the frustrations that a lot of you folks have had over the last 24 months, 12 months, 6 months, however long it is, we have to have a quorum to be able to modify the covenants and the rules and regulations as it relates to the community. So I would like to empower all of you who are on this Facebook Live this evening to share this with every single neighbor that you know in the community. Put it on your personal Facebook page. We're going to hopefully upload this to a YouTube channel, and put this on Town Square, burn it to a CD, and personally deliver it to residents in the neighborhood if you want to. But my goal is that everybody's on the same page, everybody is aligned, and that we can actually formulate some of the changes that everybody wants to implement in the community as we move forward into 2025. So we can't do anything until everybody is on the same page, and a certain number of people, which would qualify as a quorum, allow us to actually change the covenants and the rules and regulations. I'm going to continue to read some of these messages, and in about 5 minutes I'm going to have to end the call. One of the messages is that there's unawareness of the need for volunteerism and action within the community. So we have 2 board members, myself and Gil. Some of you might know that, some of you might not know that, but there is 2, grand total of 2 people on the board for a community that is 190 homes. To give you context, a neighborhood of that size will have a board no less than 3 people, and probably no less than 3 committees that are comprised of no less than 2 to 3 people on each committee. Committees would be pool and grounds, community relations, and another committee. So you're talking about probably no less than 12 to 15 volunteers that are actively involved in the going on of a community our size. We currently have 2. We've been asking through surveys and proxies that went out last year and the year before that and the year before that of more. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for volunteers to fill out the 3-member board. We would like to modify the covenants to be a rolling term for our board members, which means that they're not all going to expire in the same year. And then we would like to have no less than 2 to 3 members on 2 or 3 committees that are really important throughout the community. So we're looking forward to everybody being proactive in submitting those proxies and volunteering for the committees that they're all passionate about. The best way that you're going to be able to volunteer is you're going to be able to get a proxy that will come to you formally in the mail. So if you want to formally insert yourself as a volunteer for a board member election, that's going to come through once Shaven and Associates officially will take over. I have no confidence that Homeside can execute that between now and April 1st. So April 1st and beyond, you'll be able to get that through Shaven and Associates. If it is something from a committee standpoint, we can do that through other channels. If it's something you're passionate about, then we can get volunteers to be on board, whether it's a pool committee, grounds committee, community relations for new neighbors coming into the community, whatever that might look like, and whatever committee you're interested in, we can get that going. about 4 more minutes and I'm going to end the call. But I want to handle some of these questions because I feel like it's really important. How do we join groups? We'll send out that information to you after this call if it resonates with you, and we'll get together and make it happen. ARC committees. Oh my goodness. Thank you, whoever put that in the comments. I think one of the biggest things with the basketball goals recently is that the system that we're currently on, just so you all are aware, will automatically decline ARC requests after 21 days. So it also requires 3 votes. And we have 2 board members currently, and we have like 1 or 2 members on a committee that are sort of there behind the scenes. And so if we don't get those votes passed or submitted in a 21-day period, the system is automatically going to decline them. The other thing that is very important to note about the basketball goals is that I approve them 100% of the time. I will say it's approved contingent to the current covenants and rules and regulations as they are written. So my expectation to you all as neighbors is that you read the covenants and the rules and regulations as it relates to basketball goals. And if you're leaving them out in your front driveway 24 hours a day, that's not how the rules and regulations and covenants currently read. So if you get a letter saying that they're not approved, the first thing that I would empower you to do as a resident, and I'm not trying to cause friction, but the first thing that I would empower you to do is read the rules and regulations and the covenants. And if you don't like what they say, the next thing that I would empower you to do is show up to a meeting that we can schedule so that we have enough people in the community that actually show up so that we can modify them. To give you an example, there's 23 people on this call right now. In order for us to have quorum for this community, we need about 48 people. So we're halfway there, but we can't do anything as a board of directors until we have quorum. We can't do anything legally. So I empower you to forward this on to everybody in the community that you know, and we'll schedule a meeting, whether it's in person or whether it's virtual, so that we can get 49, 50, 60, 80 people in a room or on a phone call or on a virtual meeting so that we can modify some of these things that you guys want to modify. I'm not opposed to it. I just can't change anything until I legally am able to do that. So hopefully everybody understands that. 8:50, I have like 2 more minutes. I'm going to read a few more comments. And everybody that's willing to help, please do that. Gil, if you're on the call, will you please post the new email that we're going to blast out there for everybody to utilize, and then we'll post this on YouTube as well. But yeah, this random video has 22 people on it right now. Just to give you context, our last annual meeting had 17 households on it. So, hey, we made 5 more people available this evening than we did in the 2024 annual meeting. Any last questions before I end the live? If not, everybody enjoy the rest of your evening, and we look forward to being in touch very, very soon. I look forward to working with those who are passionate about improving the community and getting things done that they're passionate about.